is, do you know your customer? And if you don't, potentially it's costing you. So, for example, over the years, again, I've worked in lots of different industries, from bloodstock to agricultural to tech to industry, manufacturing. I've done a lot in retail. So it's over a series of years, obviously. And across that, no matter what industry you're in, you need to understand your customer. And, so today we're going to go through that. So a couple of pillars that I look at, I'm going to go through 10. I hope they'll help you. And if you have any questions, please reach out. So in understanding your customer, traditionally we were looking at, what people earned, what job they had and where they lived. Now, obviously time has evolved and, we've moved on from that. And so other things you can look at are the culture of the people that are your potential customers. So, for example, have they particular traditions they believe in? What do they value? Are they into particular hobbies? Are they very outgoing? Are they very sporty? Do they like sun holidays, for example? So you'll find people typically like particular things or they value particular things. And, it's up to each business owner, each organization to understand, what do their customers or clients value? Are there any taboo subjects that would affect your customers? So there's loads of case studies of where, different organizations have moved into different regions, into different territories or different countries. And in that, there's, certain aspects of their marketing or what they stand for can get lost in translation, unfortunately. So it's about understanding who your customers are, whether they're in a different country, whether they speak a different language, but to understand who they are, what they value, and if there's something that's taboo to them, that you understand that and that you don't be upsetting them. So what do they customers value the most? If you can see the screen, what are their general attitudes in their inner circle? And again, this is very important because this helps you to understand, what are the drivers, what are the triggers for helping people to buy? Why do they buy from you? So what do you stand for? And what you tend to find is that people like those like them. I learned that years ago from a really good sales manager. So I'll say it again, people like those like them. And what that means is that we gravitate typically towards others that, believe the same or have the same sort of values. So if you're into outdoor sports, you're more likely to gravitate towards somebody that is into outdoor sports. If you're a reader or if you're into literature, or, again, these are just generalities, but typically people gravitate towards others who have similar beliefs or are interested in similar things. So if you understand your customers and what they believe in, and if your business or organization embodies those values, those people are much more likely to buy from you. Now, another one that's kind of an older one is social class. And, back in the day, there was like upper class, middle class, and working class. And really, we've moved on from that because given the internet, given the opportunities available to people worldwide, we now have different types of classes or understanding. It's not quite where you live and what exactly your parents do. There's cultural capital, there's social capital. So, for example, somebody might be very outgoing, and by the very nature of them being very outgoing and have a great personality, they might actually come up the social rankings, if you will, in their social circle because they're very outgoing or something like that. So, it's not just where you live, it's not just the jobs your parents have, and it's just about understanding that. So, where do the customers fall into? Like, what is your target market? Who are they in terms of social class? So, for example, you'll find, that some people, they will, again, they're, regardless of where they live, they might be into those outdoor sports or their particular religious beliefs or particular values. They're into music, they're into, whatever it might be. And it's really about you understanding those more so than social classes, because people tend to be migrate in and out of different social classes nowadays. Thankfully, the internet has there's a lot of democracy around that. So you can see now people can go on YouTube, they can go on TikTok, and they can cut through what would have been traditionally these different social classes, and they can do very well for themselves vis-a-vis the internet. So that has made it very democratic. So social classes, really what you're looking for really is more people's interests, their hobbies, their values again. That'll be a running theme. So perception and learning. So when you're first, what do people perceive of you? So if you're a standalone person, or whether, people walk into your salon or walk into your shop, your retail shop, or they walk into your factory, what do people think? What's their immediate perception? So is there stuff all over the place? Is everything neat and tidy? Does it have a very modern look? Is it quite old-fashioned? People form opinions very, very quickly. And it's really imperative that you understand who your target market is, but also more so what do they perceive of you and the service that you provide. So it's very good idea, as we all know, to get customer feedback and to get testimonials from them. So again, what that helps you to understand then is you might need to adapt and change. For example, if you are, providing a luxury service or product, you might have to, well, you would need to have, backgrounds, really good, luxurious type of marketing, for example, and so on and so forth. So it forms an image, there's values there, and people gravitate towards them if that's what they're interested in. Again, some people want to go for a pared back type of image. And this all comes back down to your brand. What does your brand say about you? What's your brand voice? What's your brand tone? What are you saying to people? What are the subliminal messages you're giving to people? So, for example, you'll see people on YouTube, they might have a dog in the background. Subliminally, we would believe in them more because we believe as human beings that if a dog or a cat or animals like you, that therefore you're more trustworthy. If you've got plants sometimes in the background of videos or imagery, again, people might gravitate towards you more because they believe, maybe you're more eco-friendly, that sort of thing. So the image that you portray, whether it's through imagery, video, it's a retail store, it's a salon, it's a factory, whatever it might be, people form opinions, and that can help them to buy or not to buy depending on the image that they, or the perception that they form of your business and your product and service. So what's the motivation? What's the driver here for people to buy from you? So what stage is your customer at? So what you'll find sometimes is, you start up a new business and people have never heard about it. So they've got to learn about it. And they say you need to market your business between 8 and 9 times. So people need to see your brand, your name between 8 and 9 times before they make a buying decision. So that's quite a lot. So you might be doing Facebook ads, Google ads. You might be doing a lot of organic social. You might be going on TikTok or on YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever it might be. So that will help to move your customers along the line in terms of they become more interested as they gain more knowledge and believe more in your brand, what you're saying, the values you portray, and so on and so forth. So it's really a good idea to understand where people are at in that spectrum. Are they just after seeing your brand today? So what sort of information do they need? What sort of imagery do you want to put out in front of those so that you bring them along a journey towards buying from you? And usually when people buy from you, there's a much higher chance of them buying from you again. And as I keep saying to people, well, as you all know, I mean, it's easier to retain the customers that you have in terms of retention, but also to understand that if they really believe in you and, they're part of your true 1,000 fans, for example, they're more likely to keep buying from you. And so the average spend can go up in terms of customers, and therefore your revenue will go up if you are conveying the right messages and people are quite convinced that they need to purchase or buy from you because they believe in your brand voice, the imagery, and so on and so forth. So you need to understand where people are in the continuum because you may need to change your marketing material and how you present your product or service based on where a customer is at. So at the end, when people are really close to buying, what's the message they need to see? What will be the trigger that will make them buy? So, we do need to understand that and map that out in terms of, prioritizing how you market and planning out your content calendar, for example. So the other thing here is number 5, which is beliefs and attitudes. So beliefs and attitudes are, what do people believe in? That can be anything from religious, things they read. Some people are into futuristic films, for example. Some people are into murder mysteries, detective. Some people love a rom-com. So what are people's beliefs and attitudes to life in general? And that tends to feed back into, the types of product or services that they tend to buy. Now, of course, in terms of what we buy in general, we have to buy food, we have to buy water, and so on and so forth. But again, what brands you purchase are based typically on your values, your perception, your beliefs, and your attitudes. So if somebody puts a high value on having good quality food, they're more likely to buy organic. And that's why you see with Tesco's or different supermarkets, be it Walmart or whatever it might be, that they will obviously have those cards whereby for every item you buy, they're actually logging that and they have that information. So they will then send you vouchers based on you might have a dog in the house, a cat in the house, you might have young children, you're buying baby formula and so on and so forth. So they will send you advertising based on what you buy. So that's a good example of how businesses is targeting their customers. But again, it's important to understand not just where they are in their life cycle, the customer, but also their beliefs and attitudes. The other one is personality. So a good one to look at is if your business was a brand, or sorry, if they were a famous person, who would you be? Now you sometimes find as a business or a person, whether you're just or not just, but if you're an influencer and so on and so forth, who do you want to become or who do you want to represent? Like who do you like what are your values and what do you stand for? So if you're looking at that example of a famous person, who would you be? You might actually embody the characteristics or values of two or three different people, and that's fine too. The question is, do you know what you stand for? And is that very clear? Is there clarity in your marketing? So the personality type of your brand, your product and service, and that will come through in your marketing, in all of your material, how you deal with people, from the first message that they see on social media, for example, or in an email or in a shop. And that whole customer journey is mapped out through the personality they believe or the brand or that they believe in your brand. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, but just post them below. The other one here, number 7, is lifestyle. So, again, like I was saying at the start, people can be very interested, in reading or tech or outdoor sports or, it depends what it is. And so they have a particular lifestyle that they believe in. And it could be, they're into nature, good food. Some people love McDonald's. It really, really depends. They like the cinema, music. So people have different lifestyles. And again, if you understand where your brand stands, in the midst of people's lifestyles, like what values do you have? What is your personality? And what does your product or service stand for? What does it mean to buy from you? You see this with you know, um, exercise wear. So some people will have a particular brand. I don't know, it might be Gym and Coffee or here in Ireland, or there's other different brands. You see Nike, Just Do It, more well-known brands, and they've done a lot of marketing, obviously, and are associated with the Olympics. So people will buy, runners based on what they believe Nike, for example, to be and what that brand embodies. And does that mean you're not going to go to the Olympics? Possibly not. Now maybe you are, but the percentage of people that are going to the Olympics is obviously very low. But people will buy into the brand values and they believe when they buy shoes, and I do this myself and I see my children doing it, is where you feel like you embody the values of the brand when you purchase an item such as runners. I see this with my little 8-year-old, she'll buy, I think it was at Asics she bought the last time, and so she believes now she's a much better runner because she's wearing these particular runners. So this is what lifestyle embodies, and you'll see people that golf, for example, or do particular sports, they will tend to buy or purchase particular brands because of the quality, because of the brand values. And so you see, for example, somebody that never did sailing or golf, for example, and they go and they start doing it, and you start to see their wardrobe changing potentially, where they start wearing this type of clothes and they're buying these types of brands. And part of that is because of their peers. So if they're going into the golf club, for example, they recognize when they go in that others have these products already and these brands. And in order to fit in, oftentimes people want to be the same. We're, I suppose, nearly herd animals, if you like. So we want to fit in, we want that connection. And part of that is to be seen to fit in. And with that in mind, people will tend to buy the brands that would be popular, even in particular golf clubs, for example, and or in particular sports. And what that does is that when that person is seen out on the golf course or in a particular sport or whatever it might be, they believe they embody the values of that brand by the very nature that they're they wear it. So do you understand that? And so for example, if you were in the golf industry, do you need to understand, which you do, not to devalue your brand, for example. So if you're charging, I don't know, 300 euros for trousers, you may need to keep it at that because it's of higher quality and people believe in that brand values and they don't actually want to buy something cheaper because they believe that devalues them potentially as a person or indeed as a golfer. So just be aware of these triggers or these notions nearly that we have as human beings. It's very much about understanding consumer psychology. I studied this years ago in college, and it's fascinating to understand, like, why do people buy? If you're buying a car, you really need to get you from A to B and hopefully from B to A. So why do you feel the necessity to buy a BMW or a Mercedes or a Rolls Royce as opposed to just, like a cheap small car that gets you from A to B? And really, brands in particular with cars or that type of product, you see where people will spend an inordinate amount of money because they believe in the brand values and they believe that they as a person embody the values of the brand, or it elevates them socially and personally and part of their lifestyle if they're seen, say, through, I don't drive a BMW and it's convertible, for example. So what does that say to other people when they buy them? So these are just different aspects of human life, and it's to bring that knowledge into your organization and help you to understand where your customers are at. And what you'll tend to find is that depending on where your customer is at in terms of their readiness to buy, they may be at the start of the journey, the middle of the journey to buy from you, or at the end of the journey to buy from you. And are you marketing and or giving enough information or giving a sense of your brand values enough for them to understand and actually make that decision to buy from you? So you need to understand all these different elements because all of these different elements help you to position who you are as a brand and a business and help you to maximize your chances for sales based on these understandings. So these are 10 pillars and they're absolutely critical and underpin every single business that you can think of. You might think it's highfalutin, you might doubt this, but I have used this for every single, like a lot of different types of businesses, as have other people. And really, it's always the same. It's just understanding the fundamentals. They don't change regardless of TikTok or different tools, because really they're just tools to present yourself to the world. You can present yourself to a wider audience and they're fantastic, but the tools can change, but the fundamentals remain the same. Do you understand your audience? And you see people, particularly on TikTok or YouTube and whatnot, and it's really fantastic to see where, their authenticity that they people warm to them, they buy from them, they believe in them because of the way they position themselves, because, that belief system. And I suppose part of that as well is because we become very sophisticated consumers. And if you're seen on TikTok or YouTube, it's less sophisticated. It's not pre-recorded. It's not, well, typically, it's not edited with spending millions or thousands of euros or dollars. It's usually somebody presenting themselves. It could be in their kitchen, in their bedroom, wherever it might be. And people feel closer to them typically and believe in them typically more. So you see a lot of influencers, um, you know, are people becoming influencers whereby they have huge followings and people or their followers rather tend to use their brands, the brands that they use or the products that they promote because they believe in the person. So this again, it all ties in together. The times change. In 5 years' time, we'll have different tools that will be used, but these fundamentals actually won't change. So if you use these are can be used all the time. The tools will change, as I said. So language then is something then to be very aware of. So in terms, this is number 8. So the phrases you use, the language you use for your customers, what words you use, people, you can say something and it doesn't land with somebody. So again, this is about understanding your customers and also the types of phraseology that they use. For example, I have, as I said, an 8-year-old, and I don't know if you're aware of it. I'm sure most of you are, but this recent cultural craze for 6-7, and every day of the week, on multiple occasions, I'm hearing this 6-7 and all the rest of it. And so these are phrases or in language that if I'm targeting or selling a product or service that is for younger viewers, I would use that type of language because it breaks down barriers. It helps them to feel like they know me or that I understand them by using their language. So it's not just different languages, be it Spanish or English or German or French or whatnot. It's really about understanding the phraseology, the cultural idioms, the way people phrase things. I live in Ireland, and even though we all speak English, if you go to the States or you go to the UK or you go to Canada or you go to Australia, all English speaking countries, and they all have different phrases or different meanings that are quite that are central to their culture. And it's very much about using those in your marketing because it breaks down that barriers. Again, I have an academic background and I have to try and remember not to use kind of certain phrases and whatever because it creates a barrier sometimes where people feel I'm not using language that they understand. And that's very understandable as well, excuse the pun. But yeah, so again, understanding your customer's language, your client's language is very important. The customer relationship, we've all heard these, and when I was back in college or when I'm lecturing, I lecture part-time at university level. And really everything centers around in marketing and in business around your relationship with your customer or your client and where like on a continuum, where are you in good standing with your customer? Are you good standing with your client? What do they feel about you after having purchased from you? And that whole aspect of customer relationship management and email and reaching out to them and customer facing, if you're in a restaurant, that somebody acknowledges you when you walk in, that they greet you, that they help you, and so on and so forth. This is a central tenet of every business, that you have to have good customer relationship management, literally for prior when you're marketing, before they buy from you, when they buy from you, and what is the customer relationship management protocol after somebody has bought from you. That would be important as well. So it's about deepening the relationship and going back then to revenue, which is obviously very important in sales. Again, like I was saying earlier, it's easier to retain a customer. So, can you extend the lifetime value of your customer by good customer relationship management? And in marketing literature, or when people study this and research it, customer relationship management, they talk a lot about be it marriage or real life relationships, and it's based on that. So again, if you were going on a date and somebody asked you to marry them on the first date, it might be a little bit of a red flag. It's not something you're expecting. They've jumped in too quickly. And in B2B, this can often happen where somebody looks for the sale too quickly, and the prospect or the lead is not ready yet. And again, this is about developing that relationship and understanding where your client or your customer is on that journey. Are they starting out the journey where they're understanding who you are as a business owner or business organization, or public organization? And then as time goes on, or over a period of a couple of weeks, and it could be months, sometimes even a year in B2B and more, where you're developing a relationship with the person, and then at a certain point they may buy from you. And then of course it's building that relationship and maintaining it so that they stay buying from you. So again, it's very much like real life relationships, is courting them, if you will, before they buy from you. When they buy from you, it's not like a hit and run. You're like, oh, that's great, you bought me, see you, bye. It's about developing that and ensuring that always you're giving a lot to customers. So I hope that's helpful. I actually created this in Claude there earlier this morning. I have this on Excel. I won't switch screens now, but the other aspect of this is, in terms of AI, are there assets that you have where you have frameworks like I have? This is the framework I've used for years and years. Can you utilize AI? Can you create marketing assets that would help your customers? Now, this will help more the sales team. But are there aspects, again, that you can use, or where AI can help you to increase your productivity or better establish, a good relationship with your customers based on different assets you could create using AI technology? And I've been doing that over the last number of months, and really last 2 years or so. And I'm finding it fascinating where you can use vibe marketing, or vibe coding, I should say, and be it Claude, ChatGPT, and different platforms where you can relatively quickly create a framework or a dashboard that can help you and your team to be more effective, and ultimately to make more money. And that's obviously an important facet of all organizations. So that's important to say. So I hope you enjoy this. If you wanted any more information, please reach out to me. And I will most certainly engage with you, and we could have a quick conversation if if you're open to that, or whatever it might be. But in any case, I hope this give you some food for thought, and that it's something that you integrate into um your all of your marketing and your business as well. So thank you very much, and delighted to have had you here.